Let's speak to Eubank's promoter, Ben. Shalom. Good to see you, Ben. First of all, how is Chris?
You know what? He's absolutely on top of the world. It's taken a couple of days to almost come down from an unbelievable experience, what it was for all of his team, but particularly him. It's been a hard camp, but to be in a sort of legacy-defining fight like that is everything that he's ever dreamt of. And yeah, I'm really proud of him. Everyone connected with Chris right now is emotional. It was a very emotional night. It was a great night, and he performed extremely well. So yeah, he's doing very, very well.
It's good to hear. I mean, before we get into the fight and the emotions of obviously his dad being there as well, in terms of him going for precautionary tests, you know, there was concerns about his cheek. What was it that they were actually worried about? Was it the fact that he was dehydrated? Can you tell us a little bit more?
Look, it was precautionary, and that's what it was. I think he's got to the stage now in his career and has seen so much. They both have, both senior and junior, that after a fight like that, a 12-round fight like that, you got to go. You got to check your vitals, you got to check your bloods, you got to check everything. And so we stayed overnight in there, and it was nothing more than precautionary. Of course, he was exhausted from a huge 12-round fight like that. But as I say, he's relaxing, he's happy, he's smiling, and everything is well with the Eubank Jr camp.
It's brilliant to hear. They were in the same hospital, weren't they? Just a few beds away from each other. How did that go down? It sounds like something from the movie Rocky.
Yeah, you know what? As I said, I think for all boxers now in this day and age, after being in a 12-round fight like that, both guys, they put heart and soul and everything into a night. And it's the whole lead up, the 10, the 12 week, the anticipation, the brutal camps. And so again, I think it was sensible for everyone to go and have precautionary checks after something like that. But as you said, you couldn't really write what happened on Saturday night, and them both being together at the end was definitely just topped it off.
You must be nervous when you put on a fight of this magnitude. Did it live up to all your expectations and more?
Look, it was everything and more. I've never seen a fight encapsulate the public the way it has. It's everywhere. It's all over social media. It's the different generations, the younger generations. I've got my girlfriend, my mum, my cousins, everyone that's never even watched boxing before is talking about this fight. It was everything. And to be there on the night, to witness it, to have senior turn up as well, you know, it was emotional. But all I can say is we're extremely proud of Chris Eubank Jr. It was his show on Saturday night. It was his moment. It was his story. He sold the whole fight from start to finish. Senior turning up was just magical, and this family has been through a hell of a lot, and it was nothing less than he deserves and they deserve, and a fabulous performance, a fabulous fight. Conor Benn was better than I expected, which made for an even better fight than I think anyone could ever have imagined. So yeah, something that will live long in the memory of all British boxing fans. It was very, very special and very much needed for a sport. A fight of that magnitude, a fight of that quality, a fight that close on these shores in front of the best fans in the world, and it was yeah, it was amazing.
You talk about that moment when Chris Senior turned up. When did you know he was going to make the fight?
You know what? It's something that we've been talking about for weeks and weeks as to whether we could and whether it would happen. And obviously a lot was being played out in the media, and it wasn't easy at times, but it was not only probably until an hour before that I finally got the confirmation that he was going to turn up. And in true Eubank style, it was everything. No one knew. Even his son didn't know until very late, and what a boost that could be just before a fight. And to see the pictures of them open together, I think it was just it was a real human moment. You know, I've got to know them both very well individually, and I think for the family to see them back together like that, it was so special. I think British boxing was very emotional at that point. You know, Chris Eubank Sr. is a godlike figure in our sport, and to see his son and take all the pressure that he has on his shoulders being a Eubank and battling through so much adversity and almost going up against the establishment in true Eubank style, it was something like from a movie. And if we'd have scripted that, if we'd have written that, you wouldn't have believed it. But it truly did happen last minute, and I think Senior will cherish that decision for the rest of his life, because it was a very special night for them both.
It was the iconic moment, I have to say, you know, watching at home when we saw him in the car. It was like, you couldn't believe it. Do you feel it was kind of the tipping point that sort of gave Chris Jr. the edge and actually knocked Conor?
You know what? Those pictures that I've seen of Conor and Nigel in the changing room, looking at the TV screen, seeing the doors open and seeing Senior come out, the crowd going wild, that can't have been easy psychologically to deal with. And I think that's where credit has to go to Conor Benn as well, because that won't have been easy. He still came out and gave an absolutely huge performance. But yeah, I think the Eubanks know how to perform. They know how to win, both in the ring, psychologically, outside of the ring. And it was a rebellious act. It was an amazing act, but it was an act of love. It was an act of love from a father to a son. And despite what they've been through, despite everything they have been through, they were there together on the night. And it was, yeah, as I say, extremely emotional and not easy for anyone to deal with right before the fight.
No, absolutely not. There obviously has been so much bad blood in the build-up, but do you feel that now there is a newfound respect between these two families?
Look, there's always been respect between the families. I know Nigel and Chris have extreme respect for each other. I know the story has lived in the British boxing memory for 30 years. It was difficult. The build-up was difficult. The history of the first fight falling through was difficult, particularly for Junior to take. Junior's a very principled man, and it created a lot of bad blood. Do they have respect for each other between the two fighters? After 12 rounds of something like that, they have to. Do they like each other? I'd still probably say they don't. But do they have respect for each other? They have to after something like that. It was something that only those two know what they went through in that ring. And they gave us something, as I say, that no one will ever forget.
There might be a rematch. Turkey Yellow Shaker said that he would like to see it. Can you still hear me? Goodness me, that was a loud motorbike, wasn't it? He'd like to see it in September. Do you want to see it happening again? Do you think we'll see that fight happening again?
Look, I think there's nothing that we're thinking about right now other than celebrating this moment. It's been such a long time in the making. I think, as I said, we've all been through so much, Eubank Jr. in particular, and so to come out the other side victorious is all we're thinking about right now. We'll sit down in a week and start to look at the future and make announcements then. Of course, you know, that's what everyone's talking about, but no decisions will be made yet. And he's a superstar. He's a star in British boxing right now. He is the people's champion. He's the one that went up against the establishment. He's the one that went up against the promoters, the British board. He was the one that always stood true on his word. And you know, you saw in the clips of when he was telling his dad he wanted to be a boxer. That's the Chris that I know. That's the Chris that still exists. He perseveres. He stands for what he believes in. He won't let anyone tell him no. And he needs to be celebrated, I hope, because what he did on Saturday night was legendary. It really was. And yeah, he needs this moment now to take it in, to celebrate, to take stock of what he's just done. And yeah, and then we'll decide what's next.
Ben, just finally, I mean, I hear you, you're not going to talk about what's going to happen next too soon, but there was that iconic moment of Chris Eubank Sr. coming out of the car, but there was also that iconic moment of Nigel Benn and Conor embracing after the fight. You know, as a promoter, you were there inside the ring, you were soaking up those moments. What did that mean to you to watch them as well in defeat?
Honestly, it was amazing. I was sat behind Nigel, and Nigel turned round at one point and said, "That's my son." And you could just hear the emotion in his voice. I think both of them were in awe of their sons at that time. I think both of them didn't really believe that their sons could do what they did on Saturday night when they started their career. I think they probably thought, how can they follow in my footsteps? How can they achieve everything I've achieved? How can they do it without the hunger and the desire of having nothing? And they did. And both of them were in shock, and I could see that quite visibly on both of their faces, that their boys were getting in there and doing it how they did. It was amazing for everyone involved, and as I say, Nigel will be extremely proud of his son Conor as well, because yeah, I think everyone was in awe of what they produced on Saturday night.
Yeah. I would agree with that. Thank you so much for joining us today, Ben, and give our best wishes to Chris Eubank Jr.
Will do. Thank you very much. Cheers.